So it is a privilege and an honor to welcome you all to this afternoon's webinar. My name is Joan Hawxhurst. I am the coordinator of Hope for Creation, and I am so excited to be here with you today for one of our Congregational Dream Team events. This is a special one that we are co-hosting with Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. And Jennifer Young, the program manager for Michigan IPL, is here as well today, as well as Jan Maatman, who will tell us about some of the programs that her congregation here in Kalamazoo has taken advantage of. I want to tell you just a little bit as we begin about Hope for Creation, which is an interfaith network of individuals and congregations working to encourage creation care and support faith-based action on climate change in Kalamazoo and Southwest Michigan. And we are, in fact, the Southwest Michigan affiliate of Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. So we're super excited to be able to partner today and to welcome Jennifer Young here to share with us some really exciting information about programs that Michigan Interfaith Power and Light offers for and with faith congregations in Michigan. A couple of quick housekeeping things. We are recording this Zoom webinar today, and we'll invite all of the audience to stay muted, to keep your microphone muted during the course of the presentation today. If you have a question, however, don't wait. Feel free to put it in the chat as you have it. And either we'll interrupt the speakers as they go along to ask that question, or we'll save it and make sure that we ask it at the end. When we finish the programmed portion of the presentation, we'll then invite you, if you wish, to unmute your microphone and ask questions at that point. But if you want to be sure to get it in there, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat as we go along. So with that, I am going to turn the program over to our featured speaker today, Jennifer Young. As I mentioned, she's the project manager at Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. We're super excited to have her here with us today, and I will let her take it away.
Thank you so much, Joan, and thank you, Janice, for being here, and all of you. It's a privilege and an honor being with you, and thank you for your interest in energy efficiency for faith communities. I'm going to be speaking about two energy efficiency programs for faith communities offered by Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. One is called Light the Way, one is called House of Worship Rewards, and hopefully we'll have a chance also to answer any questions that you have as we go along. So with that, I'm going to begin the presentation. Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, as Joan said, we are a statewide nonprofit whose mission is to inspire and equip people of faith to be better stewards of the earth and to love for all creation. We work statewide to gather and focus the immense grassroots power within Michigan's faith communities to help them become leaders in the effort to address climate change and environmental degradation. We recognize and affirm every faith tradition that we know of has a commitment to exercising creation care and to practicing earth stewardship as part of practicing faith. We were founded by Father Charles Morris. He's a Catholic priest with the Detroit Diocese who said there ought to be a faith response to global warming. So in 2002, he founded Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. At that time, there were only 4 Interfaith Power and Light affiliates. Now there are over 40 states that have one, and we are part of a national network. We've got 300 member congregations that represent many different faiths, including 20 different denominations. We think of our work as being part of a 4-legged stool. So spiritual and relationship based, also systemic, meaning we have advocacy work that we do. And then there's practical and putting faith into action. And that's what I'll be speaking to you about today. Energy efficiency is a great way to put faith into action. So every house of worship that pays an electric bill has an opportunity for exercising creation care in this way. Essentially, if you're using less energy, then we're all creating less emissions. We have cleaner air. Not only that, but obviously for comfort, aesthetics, and safety reasons, it's helpful to have an energy efficient space. And then if you're spending less on energy, the hope is that you're spending more on your important ministry and mission work, and that is doing more good as it's doing what you really intend it to do. When we think about energy efficiency, something as basic as changing out a light bulb is a good example. Little things that we do in our worship facilities can add up to big changes. When you think in aggregate and you think about over the course of a year. The cumulative impact of all houses of worship in Michigan participating in these programs over the last several years is huge when you think about the amount of carbon that we're not emitting because we're practicing energy efficiency. This is just based on our Light the Way program, which I'm about to talk about. So far, over 900 houses of worship have participated. The amount of carbon that they're sequestering is equal to over 3,000 acres of trees planted, and the amount of carbon that they would sequester, or taking 14 rail cars of coal out of production, or serving over 400,000 meals to the homeless with the savings of not having to spend that on your energy bill. And why is it particularly relevant in today's moment? Well, so every faith community practices this in a different way, but this particular church in this slide has a community church, has a food pantry that is housed at the church. And so not having to spend $3,000 a year on energy bills, they were able to put that more into the food pantry. Energy efficiency, what are we talking about when we talk about it? Well, something like changing out the lights to high efficiency LEDs, replacing your old manual thermostats with a smart programmable thermostat. The Nest thermostats that are now available can be controlled from your smartphone, so that your building and grounds person or trustee or whoever's in charge of the building doesn't have to come in to set the temperature up and down. In fact, can even just control and monitor it from their phone. And then low flow faucet aerators in the kitchen and bathroom faucets. Westwood United Methodist Church in Kalamazoo participated with us last year. They're estimated to be saving over $600 a year on their bills as a result of participating. And Pastor Sean Kidd had this to say, that essentially when they can feed more through not having to spend that on the utility bills, it pays big dividends. On average, the 900 houses of worship that have participated in this program are saving $1,300. I'm sorry, they're saving $650 a year on bills, and they got about $1,300 worth of free upgrades during the assessment process. They also get a follow-up report from a consumer's energy advisor who walks through the facility looking for other opportunities. And this is essentially a roadmap to show you over time what you would save if you make the investment up front in some of these deeper retrofits, and what the rebates are and what the process is for applying for them from the utility if you choose to do that. That's a Light the Way program. And next, I wanted to show you a quick testimonial video. So this is a 1-minute video from a congregation that participated in Light the Way, and we thought there's nothing better than hearing it in their own words.
Hi, I'm Reverend Carrie Taylor Snyder of First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, Jackson, Michigan. They came and did an assessment of our building. determined that we could save energy. They came in with the people, changed out all the light bulbs, were very careful, and they came in and they put in Nest thermostats that they provided free of cost. When we save money on our resources, we're able to use those savings to pay for our community lunch. It has helped us to be able to afford to do that because it's a free dinner to the community. It's not just your place. You're helping all of your community when you're saving energy. So we continue to work with Michigan Interfaith Power and Light in trying to take care of God's creation, use less resources, and still provide all the services that we're able to do.
Okay, that was Light the Way. I'm going to touch, we can take questions later on, but I wanted to also introduce you to the second energy efficiency program for faith communities that Michigan Interfaith Power and Light offers in partnership with Consumers Energy. So really any faith community in the Kalamazoo area and actually in many areas of the state are eligible for one or both programs. Really the eligibility is having Consumers Energy service. So I'll say a little bit about House of Worship rewards, and then Janice, I'll bring you in because I'd love to hear from you. So just what it is, this is just like what we saw happening at Reverend Carey's church. This is not for the church building, but for your congregate members to get free energy upgrades at their home from a Consumers Energy advisor. And that's called a home energy analysis. It's completely free. And in the rewards program, the number of members and their friends and family that sign up equates to a reward for your congregation. So in this day and age, that can be done virtually, and you have the choice when you sign up as to whether it's virtual or in person. And again, you can also get the free upgrades. It's part of the assessment process. Congregational Church of Kalamazoo achieved the Advocate Reward in 2019. 75 homes received an energy audit, and the church earned $1,000 from Consumers Energy. The funds were donated to the congregation's Faith in Action team and Hope for Creation. And Janice, I'd love for you to say a few words now about how that worked and what that experience was like for you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, I found out at the beginning of the summer in 2019 that the church was going to need new boilers and that we were going to have to do a special offering, a special fundraising to pay for boilers, or we would not have heat in 1920, the winter of 1920. And so it clicked in my head that this would be a perfect time to launch House of Worship rewards so that everybody in the congregation could participate in thinking about not only the energy that the church was expending, but also the energy in their own homes. And so I proposed this to our Faith in Action team, which is our green team at First Congregational Church. And they said, oh, you have to go through the building committee. And so I wrote a proposal to the building committee to initiate this project. And they were very enthusiastic, as long as somebody from Faith in Action would take the lead. So I raised my hand, and another woman with me worked to initiate the House of Rewards program. What we found, and we, as Jennifer said, we had got 75 homes to do the energy audit. And our goal was not just to raise money for the boilers, but also to raise awareness about the environment and commitment by individuals as well as the church organization to work on reducing our footprint, our carbon footprint, and to identify the church. We're a church that's very well known for its social action in poverty. We've been a sanctuary for an immigrant for several years. She lives in our church. So we're very known for our social action, and we wanted to become better known as a church that cared about God's creation. So we started, and at first it was very slow and I was frustrated. I thought, who wouldn't want a free energy home audit and you can get free LED bulbs, kitchen and bathroom faucet aerators, shower heads, have your water heater taped if that's appropriate, and get a programmable thermostat all for free. I thought people would be lining up at the door. Well, they didn't. So I just gave them the information and expected them to sign up online. But you need to do it a little more methodically, I found out. And so we created a team of about 4 people who first agreed to have their homes audited and then be able to tell about that experience. We also got the ministers involved. They all had their homes audited. And I asked our pastor, Reverend Nathan Janice, to give a minute for mission about the House of Rewards worship, the House of Worship Rewards program. And he preached an entire sermon on how we needed to care for creation. So it was a great boost to the program. And then we discovered that, and this was pre-COVID, so we had a friendship hour after worship, and we discovered that if one person had a sign-up sheet and another person circulated the fellowship hour, and we actually wrote down the information that we needed, and we signed them up for a home energy audit, and then emailed them with their, we just arbitrarily picked a time for Consumer Energy to come to their house, but then we sent an email and said, if this time isn't good, all you need to do is call and they'll reschedule. And that worked amazingly well. We also, in that process, were able to have a list of our own of who in our congregation had signed up for their home energy audit. So when I got a list from Consumers Energy, there were a couple of times I had to call and say, you've missed John Smith. He signed up, and I know he had an energy audit on such and such a day, and they were able to correct it. So it was great to, really know that we were capturing all the people that had actually had audits. And then just after that, our congregation became much more involved in Hope for Creation, which is our interfaith group in Kalamazoo working on climate issues. And one of our members on our green team actually became a member of our Hope for Creation leadership team and has been instrumental in starting a styrofoam recycling program, which Kalamazoo did not have, with the city, and we will kick that off on January 9. We also became involved in reading We Are the Weather, which is about our consumption of animal products and how that affects the weather, and had a book group around that issue. So I feel like we raised money, we raised awareness, we raised commitment, and we emphasized the green nature of our church. And so I count it a great success. And we have gone on to talk about how we can make, we had already done the other program, the Light the Way program, but now we're talking about solar panels or geothermal kinds of things for our church too. So I am more than willing to talk to anybody who wants to start this program about the do's and don'ts of how to make it happen and make it successful in your church.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I do have, well, maybe we should pause here and see if there's any questions for Janice or myself. Otherwise, I have a few more slides I can share. Okay. So, okay. Janice spoke to this, but I just wanted you to have a visual of the kind of upgrades that you would be eligible to receive as part of the home energy analysis. So water pipe installation, LED bulbs, new shower heads, kitchen and bathroom faucet aerators, a programmable thermostat. The average house of worship who participates is reported to be saving $150 a year on utility bills just from these free upgrades. But you do get an analysis that includes a report and lets you know further energy saving tips that you can practice. So along those lines, we have a very brief video from Tom McWhirter. He is with Church of the Servant in Grand Rapids and wanted to share about his experience of having the home energy analysis.
I'm Tom McWhirter. I'm a member of Church of the Servant in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and part of the Climate Witness Project. And I heard about the energy audit option available to us. The experience was very, very easy. He was there a little less than an hour, I think, and in and out of our home without any difficulty. Did a survey of all the electrical appliances and uses in our home, noting the efficiency of the appliances and such. He installed nearly 20 LED bulbs, including 2 that were specialty bulbs that were more expensive. He also installed a Google Nest programmable thermostat. This one is a little fancier. You can do it manually or you can do it from your phone. After all of that was done and he was getting ready to leave, he gave us an estimate of what he had given us, and it came out to $450 worth of materials. And he estimated the annual savings would be at least $180 a year. It was a very, very good experience, and I would encourage you to do it, not only for what benefits you can get from it, but for the way in which it contributes to energy savings and environmental savings as well.
Thank you, Tom. And just to give you a brief overview of how the House of Worship Rewards program works. So Janice mentioned people needing to sign up with a code. So if you elect to participate, then you get assigned a unique promo code that anyone who signs up with will count towards your congregation's goal. And that's helpful because that means they don't have to be a member of your congregation. It could be a family member a friend, anybody, anywhere in the state actually who has Consumers Energy Service and who uses your unique promo code to sign up. And these are the tier and the award levels that are possible. Another option is to collaborate with other congregations to achieve your goals. So you might have seen on the previous slide that, you know, the top tier of 5,000 involves 200 scheduled appointments. Well, you might think, well, that seems a bit high for the size of our congregation. You might consider collaborating. This slide shows 3 houses of worship in Lansing. One of them was a United Church of Christ, the other was Evangelical Lutheran Church, and the other was an Islamic mosque. They had existing relationship, they partner, they knew each other, and on certain charitable projects they worked together, and they decided to collaboratively work on the rewards program. So they achieved the $500 tier. They came to Michigan Interfaith Power and Light and said, hey, we want these dollars to go farther. Do you have any matching funds that you could offer? And we said yes. So we do have a fund called the Carbon Fund. It was started by the Ann Arbor Friends meeting, which is Quakers who have self-elected to tax themselves on their own carbon emissions. And they put those into a fund with Michigan Interfaith Power and Light that is earmarked for low-income faith communities or low-income nonprofits that serve low-income communities to do projects that reduce carbon emissions. And so with that, they went back to their respective congregations and asked their congregations to match. And in total, they raised $5,500, which they donated to Haven House, which is a local nonprofit in Lansing, which allowed the facility to replace all of its lighting with LED lights. So there are definitely creative ways to participate in this program and collaborative ways that Hope for Creation congregations are uniquely poised to take advantage of. Before we close out, and we do want to get to questions, but I just wanted to let you know a couple other ways you can connect with us by joining our mailing list. So we have a monthly newsletter that we send out. And that's a great way to keep informed of grant opportunities, resources, and other ways you can practice creation care in your faith community. And then of course, like us on Facebook, because that's how we post and share information as well.
Great. Well, so Jennifer, so much information. Thank you so much for telling us about these programs. And Jan, thank you so much for that great testimonial. It was really fun to learn things I didn't know, even being here in Kalamazoo, about how the creative ways that you found to stretch the reach of that program. I love the idea of setting up appointments for people and just letting them know they can change them if they need to, take all the work out of it for them. So I also thought it was great to hear that your pastor got engaged, right? It sounds like it was a lay-led effort, but I wonder, Jan, if I could ask you a question, and Jennifer too, feel free to chime in. I'm guessing that the folks on the call today are probably largely lay members of congregations. And so I would be interested in hearing more about how your pastor Danison at First Congregational Church got involved to the point of offering a sermon on creation care, and whether or not either of you have tips for congregations that are interested in doing one of these programs, but also making sure that their spiritual leader is helping lead in that effort. So what experiences have you had with that?
Well, I think you have to bug them. You need your clergy or faith leader to be involved. You need their support. And several of us kept reminding, putting notices in the bulletin, putting notices in our newsletter. and bugging Nathan to get his own energy audit at his house. And what was interesting about that is that he has an older home, and he was, after he had his energy audit, he was much more enthusiastic. He enjoyed, the conversation with the consumer energy person, and they got all these free good stuff in their older home, and saved them a lot of money. So then I didn't even know he was going to preach a sermon. I assumed, so I went that Sunday and assumed he was going to do a minute for mission, and here comes this full-blown sermon on how we needed to take care of our home earth and God's creation. So, and we also just were very insistent that the other people on our staff had home energy audits as well. And that just makes a huge difference. You've got to have their support.
Great. Thank you, Jan.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I don't know if you have anything to add in terms of connecting with clergy, but while you're thinking about it, I do want to remind folks that we would love to hear from you. If you have a question, you're more than welcome, if you're the shy retiring type, to just type it into the chat now and I'll read it for you. Or we'd love to have you unmute and ask your questions of Jennifer and Jan as well. So I'll see if Jennifer has anything to add, and then we'll hope to hear from some of the rest of you.
Yeah, I think Jan did a beautiful job at sharing her experience.
Great.
I have a question for Jan. Just a short question. So, in our little congregation, 75 homes is a lot.
Yeah.
How many of those were people outside of your congregational sphere? And did you consider the collaborative effort that Jennifer talked about?
We consider the collaborative effort, I think, because we were being pushed by having to replace the boilers in the church. There wasn't enough lead time. And I'm kind of an impatient person. When I decided that we ought to do something, I'm not real great at, waiting for all the people to fall in place. But so we did it. We decided to do it on our own. We're a fairly large congregation. So, I was optimistic that we would get 200. But what I found out was, number one, a lot of people had already had home energy audits. And then there were also people who wanted them, but didn't get their gas from Consumers Energy. And so they were not eligible. But what happened was that members of the congregation got their children, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, colleagues, friends. So I would say about probably 10 or 12 of those 75 were people outside the congregation who, just wanted the goodies from the consumer energy.
Great.
So can you clarify?
Go ahead.
In order to be eligible, you need to get both gas and electricity from consumers?
No, you have to have your gas come from consumers.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
not every, obviously people living in outlying districts, or people who heat with electricity and not gas were not eligible. And the other thing was, one thing I was surprised about is that don't assume that people know whether they've had an energy audit or not. Because some people tried to sign up and then consumers came back and said, well, you've had one in the last 5 years, so you don't qualify. So we had to, there was some disappointment there where people had already done it. Consumers did allow that if people had energy audit in their home anytime in 2019, that we could count them. So there were some people who we counted who had already had an audit.
I was just going to ask if Jennifer, maybe you could help us just repeat the sort of the qualifications that an individual house has to have to be eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to do that and without confusing confusing things. But essentially, so for the House of Worship Rewards program, you have to have congregate members who have consumers energy gas service, as Janice said. The one caveat to that is that just this year we launched the first of a rewards program in Grand Rapids. Those are all electric only customers. So there is, and we've been informed that there's interest in renewing that for 2021. So we do expect that electric only customers, in other words, houses of worship whose members all have electric only with consumers, will have a program next year. But in areas like Kalamazoo, where mostly people have both gas and electric, you have to have at least gas in those circumstances. So I can help to clarify that based on your geography. But anyway, so that's really the only eligibility criteria. It does usually make sense for congregations with an average worship attendance of 150 or more. And if you don't have that, think about collaborating with other houses of worship or nonprofits. So the same program is available for nonprofits. Instead of being called House of Worship Rewards, it's called Community Group Rewards. As long as you are a 501c3, you are eligible. So Hope for Creation or any charitable organization that you want to get behind, you could have a promo code associated with that nonprofit, and then all of your signups are going to that charitable organization. If you want to do it that way, that is also an option.
That's great. It's, I hear you talk about these programs, and I heard the gentleman describe all the savings that he got, both the clergy and the Tom in Grand Rapids. And it just makes me wonder, why would anybody not do this? Is there anything that we're missing in terms of a barrier? Is it just they don't know about it? It just seems like such a win-win-win situation.
We think so. That's how we think. Yes, exactly.
Great. Anybody else who's been holding back who might want to ask a question? We definitely have time if you have anything you want to share and want to ask.
Yeah, this is Alana Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I wanted to ask about the church audit. How does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So if your house of worship has consumers energy service for either electric or gas, and you own the building, in other words, you're not leasing it, then you're eligible to receive a complimentary assessment. So that just basically involves letting us know, meaning Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, or me specifically, and then I can put you in touch with the consumers energy team that works with faith-based organizations. They will call you to schedule an assessment based on a time that works for you. The assessment probably takes about an hour, but it depends on your worship building. And they'll walk through with you, or whoever you designate from the congregation, to point out energy saving opportunities that they see. They'll follow up with a report that lists their findings. the report is a planning tool you can take to your finance committee or trustee board to say, yes, this will cost us something, but look, it'll pay for itself in 3 years. And for the next 12 years, over the life of the equipment, we're putting money in our pocket, not in the utilities pocket. So it's essentially like a great way to start planning for improvements. But as they walk through, they're looking for free upgrade opportunities because they want to get you started right away. And those include things like LED bulbs. Every year they come out with new free upgrades. So this year it's the new T LEDs that can replace the fluorescent lights in the office areas, fellowship halls, even some of the kind of unique and high profile bulbs in the sanctuary can be replaced with LEDs now. They'll look and see what they can do. LED exit signs, which are usually on 24/7, those can now be retrofitted with LEDs. Night lights, low flow faucet aerators for the kitchen and bathroom faucets, and the smart thermostats is again new within the last few years as a new offering that they can give you.
So we're on the east side of the state in St. Clair.
Okay.
We don't have Consumers Energy. Are there other options that you know of, or is there somebody we can talk to?
Yeah, so Consumers being statewide is who we're currently partnered with, but in the past we've also partnered with Semco Energy Gas, which does offer some programs over there. So if you want to connect with me after this presentation, I'd be happy to find out like who is your utility provider and what services and programs that they offer and send you what we know.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, I had a slide that has Jan's contact info as well as mine. I'll put that up really briefly, but maybe we can share that following this presentation as well. So I don't know, Joan, are we planning to send a follow-up email to those who registered for this?
Yes, in fact, a couple of people during the course of the presentation have requested a copy afterwards. So I will compile, once we have the recording and a link to it, I will follow up with an email to everybody who's with us today, and I can include this contact information as well. So we're super excited that people are here from all over the state. From the perspective of Hope for Creation, it's been really rewarding to be partnered with the statewide organization. Michigan Interfaith Power and Light has been a great way for us to connect to what's going on in other parts of the state. So I would highly encourage folks who haven't joined to get the newsletter from Michigan Interfaith Power and Light and haven't liked them on Facebook to do that. You can also like Hope for Creation on Facebook to follow the things that we're doing. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is one of our regular series of opportunities for congregations to help develop and grow the capacity of their green teams. So there's some other videos that you can find on our Facebook page from previous sessions, and next week, in fact, we will do our next Green Team event that's going to talk about how congregations can and do put solar panels on the roof. So that's just one of the things that we're doing to try to help grow the capacity of folks like you who are trying to be change makers in your houses of worship. So other questions? Anybody else wondering anything about how to get involved in these two great opportunities? Great. Well, we won't keep you longer than you need to. Then it's been a great delight and a pleasure to be here with Jennifer and Jan today, and we're very grateful to all of you for coming and taking part in this. I'm appreciating the thumbs up and the head nods. Again, it's wonderful to be in this work together. Thank you for all that all of you do to care for God's creation. And let's keep at it and stay connected because together we really can make a bigger impact. So thanks very much for joining us today, and we'll look forward to being in touch soon. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.